Part 70. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 709. I have been in the army for 4 years and I have never been as disturbed as I am today. The entire Defense Corps has entered the highest level of combat readiness, and weapons and equipment are not allowed to leave their bodies. This has never been the case. Even the war to eliminate the chaos body a year ago had never been so strict. Moreover, some of the officers looked very serious, as if something bad was about to happen. Close his narrative tablet. This is Alilo's personal terminal. From it, he can get any information within his authority. The roommate on the side had already put on the neural link combat suit and was packing up his things. After seeing Alilo completing his daily diary writing habit, he said jokingly, "I really don't know what the use of writing this is. Our personal resumes are all in the core database of Tianjian Intelligence. If you forget something, you can check it out. You don't understand, journaling makes my mind sharper. And it also reminds me not to make the same mistake, like the day before yesterday when you forgot to activate the magnetic boots in advance." Alilo put his terminal tablet into the storage cabinet sunk into the wall beside his bed, and began to wear a close-fitting neural connection combat uniform. At the same time, he did not forget to smile back at his roommate's jokes. "Can you please stop mentioning this? I have become the laughing stock of the entire group. Now everyone knows that during the boarding and breakthrough drill the day before yesterday, there was an idiot who failed to activate the magnetic adsorption and became a living target that could only float around in the universe." Alilo's roommate covered his face with a mask of pain and couldn't stop his voice from being annoyed, because this low-level mistake would be recorded in his file and follow him throughout his life. This would make him always have one more weakness than others in communicating with others through friendly language, which made him even more annoyed when he thought about it. After finishing the outfit, Aliro and his roommate came to the equipment room and began to put on their own light power armor with the assistance of the assembly rack. The 13th type of light power armor, called the Guardian, is the standard equipment of the Alal's defense force. It has good defensive capabilities. With an electromagnetic rifle equipped with special pendants and a multifunctional combat backpack, it can adapt to a variety of tactical needs. The multifunctional combat backpack is actually not a real backpack, but a multifunctional combat equipment equipped with an intelligent explosive armor-piercing projectile, a micronozzle and a high-energy crystal energy converter. The specific function is to make the endurance of the Guardian light armor more powerful, and it is also for battlefield versatility, because the backpack can be disassembled at will, and the loading time takes less than 5 seconds. The high-energy crystals inside its backpack can be connected to other backpacks to some extent and used as crystal bombs. As long as there are enough backpacks, the power can theoretically be superimposed. And you must know that 200 years ago, the defense forces were not equipped with power armor. They only used exoskeleton armor and used ordinary electromagnetic rifles to fight against the monsters in the universe. Nowadays, as the technology of the justice world continues to rise, and the productivity is sufficient, the ordinary defense forces are gradually equipped with power armor. Although it does not have as many functions as the Elite Corps and Demigod Corps, it is still a leap forward. After Alilo finished putting on his armor, he joined the other warriors in the group and boarded a destruction-class battleship. At first, Alilo thought that what awaited him and his comrades soon would be a mission to break into the planet's atmosphere by airdrop and annihilate the chaos virus and dangerous native beasts. But then a projection appeared on the goggles of the warriors in El Rals who had completed their battle preparations at this moment. It was none other than the eternal Queen Chi of New Alals. What the Blazing Queen said next shocked Alilo's heart, because there was so much information revealed in the Queen's words. Especially the enemy that El Rals needs to face this time, the Eternal Ascended One, whose powerful image has been circulated in the origins of El Rals. Later, in the conflict with Eternal Ascension, the Justice World never took advantage, which undoubtedly proved this point. But soon Alilo's mood became a bit complicated, including confusion about the upcoming war and fear of facing a powerful enemy. But at the same time, there is also an inexplicable sense of mission, just as the Blazing Queen said in the projection. Since we were born, the righteous world has given us the most beautiful gift, which is a peaceful and stable life. But this gift did not come out of thin air. It was obtained by countless soldiers who sacrificed their lives without fear of sacrifice. And now this most precious gift to your parents and children will be obtained by us and given to them. Thinking of this, Ililo's hands clenched unconsciously. Although some bad images kept flashing through his mind, for some reason, he did not have the idea of becoming a deserter and avoiding the battlefield of Elaris. A few days later, Iliro's troops received an order from their superiors. A massive battle was about to begin. Both the Alal's expedition fleet and the extremely powerful Eternal Guards, which would not be used in normal events, would participate into this war. Moreover, Ililo also received news that the God's throne world would also send demigod legions and divine guards to assist in the battle. This made some warriors extremely excited, because the demigod legion was a legendary existence, the guardian of the goddess, and the most powerful legion in the world of justice. According to legend, the demigods have immortal bodies and incomparable power. Each of them is a top warrior selected from thousands of worlds. They can fight 1 against 100. They are the idols of all warriors in the world of justice. Every warrior they have all dreamed of being selected as demigod warriors or divine guardsmen. Compared with some of his comrades who were optimistic, people like Ililo, who thought more, felt their hearts sink. They did not expect that the demigod army would be used in this war, so the intensity of the next war would be extremely fierce. And among the comrades chatting excitedly in this cabin now, how many of them will be able to return to their hometowns in the end? Thinking of this, Ililo couldn't help but flash through the faces of his father, mother, and younger brothers and sisters. Finally, there was a female figure whose face was not too beautiful, but was quite attractive. That was a female friend who had a good relationship with him, named Olentia, who was a sales consultant at the flower shop in Ililo's hometown town. Her home was very close to Ililo's house, so they grew up playing together. Friends, childhood sweethearts. But until Ililo went to serve in the military, he did not express his inner thoughts to Oranza because he was afraid that something would happen to him. Because in Ilals, there are real risks in joining the army, but even so, because of the high welfare and social status of the army, the number of people joining the army is still endless every year. However, 3 years ago, Ililo received a communication message from his best female friend, Olentia. There was only a short paragraph, that is, "I am waiting for you to come back." Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 710. Ililo has also communicated with Oranza many times over the years, but both of them tacitly did not mention the piece of information that heated up their relationship. Oranza would tell Ililo about her life as a counselor and some interesting things that happened in the town, which often made the two of them laugh out loud. Sometimes people's happiness is so simple. This became a rare rest time for Ililo after fighting and training and an opportunity to relieve the stress in his heart. Ililo will also describe to Olentia what he sees and hears, including cruel alien creatures, disgusting chaotic bodies, and some alien intelligent civilizations with strange customs. This made Olentia often exclaim and look at him with admiration. Who makes him the protagonist in these stories? Although Ililo admits that there is a bit of artistic processing involved. In the next few days, Iliro and his comrades did not have any combat missions inside the Destruction-class spacecraft, but in fact the war had already begun. Because some of Ililo's friends were bridge personnel belonging to the Destruction-class battleship, and the Blazing Queen did not block the news, the latest battle situation was not a secret among the Defense Corps. The Alal's expedition fleet launched a tentative attack and finally broke through the defense line formed by the Purifier fleet. As a result, when it was about to arrive near Destroyer 011, it was covered by an extremely terrifying firepower network. The fleet was completely wiped out and no one survived. Personnel. In this trial attack, the firepower of the destroyer 011 star revealed the tip of the iceberg to Ilal's, and he also had an extremely terrifying energy shield. The attack fleet's attack fell on it without causing any waves. After that, they carried out high-yield ultra-long-range bombings, but they were easily intercepted. This also made Ilal's tactical planning department give up on surprise attack tactics. Because there is no room for trickery in the face of such an invulnerable opponent, Ilal's can only confront it head-on and slowly wear down its military power. This is the answer obtained by the Ilal's tactical planning department after many trials. Of course, it was not Ilal's turn to worry about these strategic and tactical matters. He only knew that Errol's attack on the Eternal Ascended Ones had stopped for 2 days, and then a more violent attack began. This time, the entire Errol's expedition fleet attacked, and the vast sea headed directly towards the starfield where Destroyer 011 was located, and only the last quarter of Destroyer 011's body was still in space. Jump inside the door. There is not much time left for Eloras. A planet-level combat weapon that can move freely appears within the jurisdiction of the Justice World. This will be an extremely serious matter. In order to prevent and destroy this threat, Chi issued the order to destroy the destroyer at any cost, so after 2 days of preparation, Ilal's began the general attack. If this attack still ends in failure, then the world of New Elleries will withdraw from the First Order of Battle and hand over this battlefield to the coalition forces composed of other worlds. Ililio and 4 other comrades from his team logged into the dispersed airdrop cabin. After fixing themselves, they silently waited for the final airdrop moment. I don't know how long it took, 5 hours or 10 hours, but with a violent tremor, the green light in the airdrop cabin suddenly turned red. At the same time, an urgent in-ship announcement sounded in Ililio's helmet. We have entered the combat area. Please prepare all teams for landing and be ready to carry out strong landing breakthrough operations at any time. This message kept ringing in Ililio's helmet, and he couldn't help but feel excited. A strong breakthrough meant a combat mission of forcibly landing on the surface before the enemy's anti-aircraft firepower was destroyed. Its casualty rate ranks only after the mission of breaking off and being surrounded. It has always been ranked among the high-risk combat missions with its high casualty rate. Under normal circumstances, the military is rarely allowed to carry out such missions. But before Ililio could think too much, he felt the airdrop cabin he was in shake, and then there was a feeling of his body rising slightly. Ililio knew that the airdrop pod he was in was moving downward to the launch port and would soon be launched like a cannonball. Sure enough, a few seconds later, with a violent tremor, Ililio felt a huge overload pressing on his body through the armor, but it was still within the tolerance range. At this time, the captain turned on the environmental holographic display, and the originally thick metal airdrop bulkhead suddenly appeared with countless small square dots. The tragic scene outside the airdrop cabin immediately came to Ililio's eyes. The sky was lined up, broken into 2 parts in the middle, and the falling destruction-class battleships were emitting thick smoke. There are also destruction-class ships hundreds of meters long near the airdrop pod, which are directly penetrated by the blue purification beam in the universe, penetrate the shield, penetrate the ship's body, and directly explode and disintegrate. Countless wreckage trailed long tails of smoke and flames, mixed with a large number of airdrop pods, and fell to the silver-gray metal surface. Ililio could clearly see above his head that the destruction-class battleship he was riding in had been directly penetrated by several large holes, and then the explosion blew it into 3 burning wreckage. Ililio's eyes fell to his feet. Blue beams of light continued to shoot into the sky from the silver-gray land, passing around him and becoming as dense as a curtain of rain. Ililio saw that not far away from him, several airdrop pods with overlapping orbits were directly smashed into countless burning fragments by a blue beam of light. Several other members in the airdrop cabin looked ugly behind their helmets and visors. With such intensive anti-aircraft firepower, survival was purely a matter of luck. Ililo had the same idea. In his heart, he kept praying to the goddess, praying that they could land safely. It may be that Ililo's prayers took effect. The airdrop capsule he was riding in was unexpectedly not hit by the intensive purification beam, and he and other equally lucky airdrop capsules slammed into the silver-gray metal ground. Almost as soon as they landed, Iliro and his 4 other teammates immediately released the fixtures, opened the closed hatch, picked up their weapons and rushed out of the airdrop cabin. What greeted them was an endless stretch of silver-gray land with densely packed fort bases. This shocking scene made Ililo feel as small as a speck of dust, because his opponent was the entire land beneath his feet. Just now, the latest combat mission from Elo's Tactical Planning Department was issued, which was clearly reflected on Ililo's goggles. Task 1, Assembly, Priority. Mission 2, Destroy all destroyable anti-aircraft gun bases and reduce the casualties of subsequent landing troops. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 711. After the mission from the Tactical Planning Department was issued, Ililo's goggles displayed friendly force signals near him and planned Iliro's route to the nearest assembly point. Stop dawdling, hurry up and join the brother troops. Ililo, don't be in a daze, hurry up and catch up. Ililo agreed and quickly followed up with his teammates who were already running towards the meeting point. But before he had walked a certain distance, a silver-gray alloy ground in front of Iliro suddenly opened to both sides, and a black shadow suddenly jumped out of it and hit the ground with a bang. Ililo quickly stopped and raised the electromagnetic rifle in his hand, but after seeing clearly what he was aiming at, he hurriedly flew to one side. Because what jumped out was a nearly 3-meter-tall, 4-legged intelligent machine with 2 long muzzles on the top, and the muzzles were facing the direction of Ililo. The moment Ililo flew out, his position was covered by several blue purification light bombs. The high-energy reaction and blazing high temperature caused by the explosion melted the silver-gray alloy ground into a layer that looked like red-hot coke. Of potholes. After Ililo landed on the ground, he rolled forward and then turned around, raised the electromagnetic rifle in his hand, and fired at the intelligent machine that was attacking in other directions. The silver-pointed bullets dragged a faint blue electric light, quickly approaching the intelligent machine that was firing continuously, and then hit its outer armor. In an instant, the front of the bullet was deformed by the impact of the tail, and finally exploded into pieces. Countless metal scraps. The outer armor of the smart machine also left a small dent left by the huge kinetic energy impact, and its originally calculated shooting trajectory also shifted due to this. Cannot penetrate armor. Ililo immediately shouted in the team communication, and then used the nozzle of the backpack to quickly maneuver, avoiding the purification light bomb swept by the intelligent machine. I know, Krat is dead. Who else among you has brought a high-energy ion bomb? The captain shouted in the communication, and then another member of the team, Mayak and Ililo, answered at the same time. I brought it. Okay, you can shoot Iliro. Mayak, banana, I will create shooting opportunities for you. Without waiting for a response, Iliro and 2 other team members fired fiercely at the intelligent machine to attract its attention. Ililo pursed his lips slightly after seeing the goggles, took off a rectangular metal box from his waist, and quickly mounted it under the electromagnetic rifle in his hand. A message immediately appeared on the goggles: the external high-energy ion bomb launcher has been connected and is being charged. Charging is complete. It took about 2 seconds for the launcher to finally be charged. Ililo immediately knelt on the ground, raised the external launcher under the electromagnetic rifle, and began to aim at the intelligent machine not far away that was chasing other members of the team. 2 seconds later, Iliro pulled the trigger, and a burst of turbulent blue electric light spurted out from the launcher's launch port. A blue flame was dragged at the tail, and a silver bullet as thick as a baby's forearm flew out at high speed. The intelligent machine has no knowledge of this at all. It is just one of the countless self-disciplined defense devices on the surface of Destroyer 011. It only has the most basic intelligence. In addition to the thickness of the armor and the double-mounted purification rapid-fire cannon on the top, as well as good mobility, it has no other features. There are no other features. This special bullet, called a high-energy ionizing bullet, spanned a distance of nearly 200 meters and hit the turret of the intelligent machine. The huge kinetic energy caused it to stagger and almost fall. There was a hole the size of a fist in the originally thick outer armor. The high-energy ion bullet that had broken through the intelligent mechanical armor suddenly exploded, and the high-energy ions inside spattered out, directly melting through all surrounding materials. Even the strongest frame of the intelligent machine was not spared. After taking the last difficult step, it collapsed to the ground and could no longer move. Seeing this, Ililo and the remaining team members breathed a sigh of relief at the same time, and they met at the location of the dead team member Krat. Ililo watched as the upper body and armor had merged into one, turning into an irregular and gradually cooling metal block. Only Krat, who was left with only 2 legs, silently mourned for him in his heart. After all, not so long ago he was a living person. He is a person who can talk, laugh, and joke, and he also has parents and brothers, but now in the blink of an eye, he has become like this. Okay Ililo, we can't take him away. Ililo felt his shoulder being tapped, and then the captain's somewhat low words came through the communication, and the meaning contained in them was unclear. Ililo then continued on the road to the assembly point. During this period, he would encounter the kind of intelligent machinery from before. However, Ililo and other members of the team had experience and worked together to solve the problem without any danger. The other party. In the end, they successfully arrived at the assembly point, where dozens of soldiers from the defense force were already building defense bunkers on the spot, using the remains of more than a dozen intelligent machines. Ililo's sharp eyes discovered that none of the several teams at the assembly point arrived at full strength, and all had attrition. Compared with the others, his team was actually quite lucky. After Ililo's team was organized into the newly formed temporary battle group at the assembly point, an unlucky guy was added to the team. The reason why he was unlucky was because his team was attacked by 2 as soon as it landed. In the end, he was the only member of the team who was lucky enough to survive the attack by intelligent machines. After waiting for a period of time and finding that there were no friendly troops approaching, this temporary battle group immediately moved towards the nearest fort base. Ililo also had a new priority task on his goggles, which was to destroy the large turret located nearly 2,000 meters ahead, and his team was organized into an assault group. At this moment, the fort is pointing its muzzle at the sky, continuously firing blue purifying beams. Even if Iliro didn't look at the sky, he knew that the sky was filled with falling ship hulls and airdrop cabin wreckage dragging long tails of flames. In the Aral's tactical planning department, Chi stared at the projection in the void. The signal representing his own personnel had successfully landed on Destroyer 011. Moreover, as time passed, some purification light cannons had misfired in the area where Destroyer 011's own troops had forcibly landed, indicating that the landing defense forces had successfully completed part of their goals and destroyed those fort bases. In this way, in the second wave of airdrops, the number of defense forces that can successfully land on Destroyer 011 will be greater, and the speed of destroying destroyer orbital defense turrets will also be increased. This is like a snowball, and it doesn't end until Ilals builds a base on the destroyer's body and uses it as an anchor to continuously expand his strike range and create a safe area. As for the defense force soldiers and expeditionary fleet crew members who sacrificed their lives during the forced landing during this period, the people of Ilals will always remember their contributions, and their deeds will be immortalized within the scope of the righteous world. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 712. After several days of sabotage operations against the destroyer, Ilal's army finally gained a foothold on the destroyer 011, and the purification beam turrets in an area were destroyed. The intensity of the anti-aircraft firepower in the destroyer area has been greatly weakened, and the destruction-class warship can finally stay over this area for a short time to launch airdrop pods. When the defense forces established a safer landing area on the surface, the most elite Eternal Guards belonging to Ilal's also began to airdrop. Compared to the soldiers of the defense force, the Eternal Guards were many times better equipped and more capable in battle. As soon as they entered the battlefield, the intelligent machines that were originally in a stalemate with the defense force were swept away like autumn leaves. At the same time, Destroyer 011 also completely pushed out his star-like body from the space jump, and then quietly suspended in the starry sky of the universe, constantly devouring Ilal's army. Chi looked at the daily casualty reports. If this continues, before they, Ilal's, can break into the inside of Destroyer 011, all the troops may be thrown into this bottomless pit. On the 10th day of the attack on Destroyer 011, the defense forces dispatched by Ilal's had already suffered nearly one-third casualties. That was millions of casualties. The first wave of landing battles alone had tens of thousands of soldiers turned into cosmic dust. The regular combat troops of the defense force in Ilal's only had about 5 million people at full strength. It was not until they gained a firm foothold that the number of casualties dropped slightly. But there are still tens of thousands of casualties every day. After all, the battlefield is too big, and the opponent has the terrifying size of a planet, and until now, Ilal's has not been able to destroy the opponent's productivity. Therefore, Destroyer 011's military strength shows no signs of weakening. It relies on powerful surface autonomous defense units to firmly restrict Ilal's troops to an area, constantly consuming its effective strength. The cost of reopening a battlefield is too high, and the expedition fleet has been damaged by more than half, so Chi no longer has the ability to open another battlefield. If the foundation of the world of Ilal's is used to launch a war mobilization, the entire world will enter a wartime state and tens of millions of defense troops can be mobilized in a short period of time, but this will not be worth the loss. After all, in the final analysis, the world of New Ilal's is just a relatively powerful world under the banner of Justice World. The price for a generation of Ilal's people to shed their blood for this battle is too heavy. On the 12th day of the battle to attack the Destroyer 011, Chi submitted a proposal for support to the God's Throne world. Ilal's was unable to complete the attack on the Eternal Ascended Star Fortress alone and requested assistance from all worlds. Binghua looked at the proposal reported by the Ministry of Internal Affairs regarding the formation of multiple world coalition armies, and felt very pleased. Binghua had also dealt with the destroyer's star-level fortress before, and knew that it was not weak. Chi can use the power of a world to break through Destroyer 011's defense network and gain a firm foothold on its body. This is already said to be outstanding. Therefore, Binghua issued an order to the Ministry of Internal Affairs in his own name, ordering all worlds to form a joint army and march to Ilal's. The God's Throne world would also send a demigod army there. Therefore, since the establishment of the Justice World, excluding the Great Crusade era, the largest joint world army was formed in a very short period of time. Its composition is the standing army of each world, from the defense army to the elite legion, and the expedition fleet to each world. The scale is extremely terrifying. Such a huge military mobilization made residents of various worlds inevitably turn their attention to the previously unknown star field of Ilal's. When they learned that the Eternal Ascended Ones were invading and sending planetary fortresses to attack the world of justice, some worlds that had been ravaged by the Eternal Ascending Ones immediately fell into a special state of fear and anger. What is scary is the powerful power and destructive power of the Eternal Ascended Army. What is angry is that they are no longer the weak civilization that had no power to resist and could only silently endure its ravages. These worlds are now members of the world of justice. They cannot bear the destruction of their current stable and prosperous lives, so they support Ilal's war of resistance. In addition, the order to form a coalition army was signed by the goddess. Each world has no reservations and is ready to contribute all its normal power. In just a few days, more than 500 worlds with expedition fleets, regardless of the number of their own expedition fleets, all concentrated on the nearby meeting point, preparing to use the rapid delivery capabilities of the time and space gate to quickly reach the battlefield. The remaining worlds that do not have expeditionary fleets have also formed synthetic legions of varying numbers, composed of defense forces and elite legions, and are prepared to support the frontline battlefields on carriers temporarily modified from transport ships. Such a large-scale war mobilization quickly activates the war machine of the justice world. All commercial activities are postponed, and everything is given priority to the actions of the coalition forces. In addition, the logistics of the war in the justice world were all handed over to the world near Ilal's, and various war materials were gradually concentrated in the world near Ilal's. Binghua did not plan to go to the front line in person, and even the command authority was delegated to the world leaders in the coalition army. The leaders of each world jointly formed the Supreme Tactical Planning Department to coordinate the war. Of course, Binghua handed over part of Tianjian's authority to the Supreme Tactical Planning Department to assist them. Otherwise, there would inevitably be some omissions in such a large-scale military deployment. The reason for this is also Binghua's test for the righteous world she has built. She wants to see if the righteous world is vulnerable without her, or whether it can confront the Eternal Ascended One head-on. If the world of justice is vulnerable, it proves that there may be something wrong with your philosophy. Isn't it just to help the weak and make them strong to fight against their enemies so that they can survive alone? If they can't even withstand the attacks of their own enemies, or even destroy their own enemies, then why is there any need for help? If this is the case, Binghua will lead the angel civilization to become an independent civilization and find a suitable star field to develop silently. It will no longer promote justice and engage in pan-civilization alliances, nor will it waste resources in fighting against the Eternal Ascended Ones and Chaos Virus. Her goal will also be to let the angelic civilization transcend this universe until the day of her end. However, Binghua does not hope that this may happen. In that case, the rest of her life will be too dull. A little bit. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 713. When the conflict between the just world and the eternal ascended ones is at its most intense, the known universe is also not idle. Because they defeated the holy left wing of the angels and severely damaged the angelic civilization, the demonic civilization became famous. Some ordinary civilizations and God-making civilizations who do not know the true history of demonic civilization cannot help but look at demonic civilization with admiration, believing that demons can exist alongside angels. The extinct ancient civilizations such as Dino, Liang, Aslan, and Thunderblade. Some new God-making civilizations or aerospace civilizations that dare not expand at will because of the pressure of justice and order have inevitably raised their own little thoughts. As a result, a free alliance with demonic civilization as the center was born. They took actions with the slogan of overthrowing the tyrannical rule of angels and establishing a truly free world. But in fact, they are each fighting their own way, just using the name of the demon civilization to avoid the interference of some God-making civilizations. Of course, they think that they have paid enough protection fees, and the demon queen will stand up for them to block the angels. In fact, demon queen Morgana is not interested in anything else, but she is only interested in disgusting angels. Morgana did not go head-to-head with Merlot because of her victory in a war, but launched an unlimited beheading tactic. Simple wormhole arrays are built everywhere. Wherever angels build stargates, demons also compete to build one and carry out assassinations and beheadings. For a time, people within the righteous order were panicked. Countless high-ranking devout civilizations who believed in angels were found dead in their rooms. Of course, the angels couldn't swallow this. The angels led by Ruaning were more radical than ever before. They searched for traces of demons everywhere. Anyone who was found to be colluding with demons would be eradicated with the flaming judgment. In order to deal with the demons' unlimited beheading tactics, the angels had to divide up a large number of teams to carry out demon-sweeping operations in various worlds. At this point, demons and angels have entered a long stage of attack and defense. Angels and demons in the known universe are engaging in fierce battles in the dark every day, invisible to mortals. This confrontation lasted for hundreds of years. The devil relied on its advanced wormhole technology to form a situation where more and less were defeated on local battlefields, causing the death of a large number of angel warriors. The demons declare to the outside world that there is no place in the known universe that demons cannot go, and there is no person that demons cannot kill. The devil is so arrogant, and the angel will naturally not choose to swallow his anger. At the same time, he declares to the devil civilization and its subordinate civilizations that there is no evil in the entire known universe that angels cannot judge, and there is no devil that angels cannot kill. After discovering that team operations were unable to deal a serious blow to the demons, and that the people within the order of justice were still unstable, the Merlot Heavenly Court changed its combat mode and assembled a massive Skyblade fleet. The King of Angels Kesha personally led the team, accompanied by the Holy Wings, and directly attacked the so-called Free Alliance, which was a blow to Morgana's demon group. In fact, Kesha's original plan was to defeat the demons first, and then hand over the rest to the subordinate civilization of the angels to slowly take care of it. This would alleviate some omissions caused by the angels' tight military strength. But in fact, the freedom of the devil seems to have some kind of strong attraction. The overall strength of the devil has not been weakened by the war with the angels, but has a tendency to become stronger with each fight. The number of civilizations that secretly support demons and angels to fight against each other is also increasing. Otherwise, where would the demons get the resources to fight an intergalactic war with angels? It's not that Kesha looks down on her biological sister. With her small number of people, she can barely fight against herself, so she still has time to mine all over the universe. And if it continues like this, the prestige of the angel civilization will be exhausted sooner or later, so Kesha can only make a choice: first stop protecting the righteous order, and prioritize attacking the forces of the demon group. In order not to repeat the situation of the fall of the Holy Left Wing, Kesha also decided to go out and get to know Morgana personally. The originally powerful Free Alliance was like a balloon that was popped after Kesha was dismissed. This situation was completely different from what those civilizations had expected. The defense line composed of demons is as fragile as tissue paper in front of the King of Gods. Whether it is a big demon, a high-level demon, or even a fallen angel, in front of the silver wings of the King of Gods, they can only end up being slaughtered without any resistance. Ability. The angels even have ultra-long-range weapons that can strike across dozens of light-years. This makes the Free Alliance complain endlessly. Often a large fleet is completely wiped out before it even leaves the planetary system. How can they fight? It is simply a dimensionality reduction attack. Even the God-making civilization has nothing to do about it. So what if it rushes in front of the angels? Not to mention the huge number of high-level angels, let's talk about the King of Angels and the Divine Wings. 3 third-generation gods who are in the T0 echelon of the entire known universe ask you how to fight. In front of them, any so-called cutting-edge technology is just a backward thing. The demon civilization, which was originally the leader of the Free Alliance, completely shrank after 2 encounters with the angel army, and no one could be found. Angels meet gods and kill gods along the way, and Buddhas when they meet Buddha. No civilization is the enemy of Yai. Now, nearly 10,000 years apart, the known universe has once again seen that everywhere the heavenly blade goes, everyone surrenders to the enemy. The true meaning of this sentence. While the angels were igniting the flames of war in the known universe, the demonic civilization was not idle either. Morgana was familiar with the structure and defense methods of the heavenly court, and learned that Kesha, Hexi, and the Holy Left Wing had all left the Merlot Heavenly Court. Morgana led the most elite force under her command to directly attack the Marrow planet system and captured several angel observation stations, causing the death and injury of hundreds of angels. The first defense method of Merlot Heaven, which is caught in the folded space, is very hidden for ordinary civilizations. It can directly dissuade 95% of the civilizations in the known universe from attacking Merlot Heaven. But for Morgana, who participated in the establishment of the Merlot Heaven, this defensive measure was just a fake. She directly cracked the encrypted channel that entered the gap between the folded spaces and came to the real outer space of the Merlot Heaven. But Morgana soon paid the price for her temerity. The defensive measures of Merlot Heaven were fundamentally different from those thousands of years ago. Not to mention taking over the Merlot Heaven, the devil couldn't even get close. The space wormhole was also restricted in this space, and it was impossible to enter the Merlot Heaven. Even if Morgana takes action in person, she is helpless against the defensive measures of Merlot Heaven. This is the difference in size, coupled with the most cutting-edge technology of the angel civilization. It cannot be broken casually. On the other side, because Marrow Heaven was attacked, the Skyblade fleet also stopped its attack on the Free Alliance. Choosing to hold a temporary mellow meeting on Skyblade, all Skyblade captains and high-ranking angels gathered on this wide platform, looking through the helmet and visor towards Queen Keisha, who was sitting on a cross-like throne. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 714. Queen Keisha, Morgana has arrived at the outskirts of heaven and is attacking heaven. I implore you to lead an army of angels back to heaven to fight against the devil. Ruaning stroked her chest and saluted, waiting for her queen's decision. Queen Kesha, heaven's defense system cannot be easily broken. Therefore, Heavenly Court does not need support for the time being, and we are not far from achieving our strategic goals. If we give up now, everything we have done before will be in vain. He 11 also stood up and refuted Ruaning's point of view unhurriedly. Although she didn't have any good method, Ruaning's behavior was undoubtedly letting the angel be led by the devil. Then the high-ranking angels below also began to express their own ideas, but they were all one-sided, but there were also some ideas that Kesha thought were good. Among them, Angel Yan's idea is very similar to hers, which is to continue the current war, completely destroy the Free Alliance, and give the devil a blow to the bottom of the cauldron. In this case, the demons will lack a Free Alliance that can provide them with a large amount of resources, and it will be possible to defeat the demons again instead of engaging in a long war of attrition with them. Finally, Kesha spoke up when the mellow meeting was reaching the final resolution. It is an obvious fact that the demons cannot break through the Merlot Heaven. And we can't just wander around and return to heaven, so I decided to continue the crusade against the Freedom Alliance and judge their crimes. To uphold justice for the people under the righteous order whose personal safety has been violated by them. After Kesha's words fell, no angel present raised any objections, but Ruaning looked back thoughtfully at Angel Yan, who was at the back of the team. She didn't pay much attention to Yan, a new generation angel star. After all, he was too young, only over 1,000 years old, and everything he was thinking was written on his face. But this time, Angel Yan's thoughts coincided with the Queen's decision, which made Ruaning thoughtful. Justice and evil, angels and demons, they are like light and darkness, constantly taking turns appearing on the heads of ordinary civilizations in the known universe. When justice overcame evil, they cheered for joy, praising the greatness and kindness of Kesha, the king of the gods. When evil prevails over justice, they kneel down and pray, asking the king of the gods to do justice for them. But they never thought about using their own hands to fight against evil and seek justice for themselves. The known universe has the chaos of the known universe, and outside the known universe, there is the cruelty beyond the known universe. The battle of Ilals between the Justice World and the Eternal Ascended has lasted for several months, from the initial landing to the final brutal ground offensive and defensive battle. During this period, the fleet of the Justice World used shipborne weapons to destroy the surface of Destroyer 011 more than once, but the effect was minimal. Destroyer 011 still has a curved shield defense system under its own alloy surface. Any bombing from the outside will first exhaust the giant purification energy stack in the center of its huge body. This allows the already arrived coalition forces to advance step by step towards the interior of the destroyer planet fortress, while Destroyer 011 is slowly advancing towards El Rals. Now, after several months, it is far away from El Rals. Not far away. Standing on the surface of Ilals, you can see the starless star in the sky with a diameter of more than 20 centimeters with the naked eye. Moreover, purification fleets continue to break into the Ilals planetary system, and even the mechanical warriors of the purifier sequence gradually appear on the battlefield in large numbers. However, these extremely powerful mechanical warriors still have an existence that can deal with them, and that is the demigod warriors from the world of God's throne. Although they cannot defeat these extremely powerful mechanical warriors one-on-one, with many against one and tacit cooperation, it is not too difficult to destroy them. But before the demigod warriors arrive on the battlefield, if ordinary defense forces encounter these purifier sequence mechanical warriors, they will face a massacre. When the war was so difficult, Binghua finally dispatched Ran and the others to prevent the mechanical warriors of the Eternal Ascended Destroyer sequence from entering. If we talk about the mechanical warriors of the Purifier sequence, they can be destroyed with some effort using conventional weapons from the world of justice. The miniature purification energy field defense equipped by the mechanical warriors of the Destroyer sequence can make most conventional weapons of civilization just stare at it. Because another target of the purification energy field is the battleship of the Purifier sequence. By condensing shipboard-scale defense methods into a micro-unit less than 3 meters high, you can imagine what kind of destructive power is needed. Only then can they cause damage to their bodies. The army of the Justice World is not the angel army of Merlot Heaven. Each person has the destructive power against ships. However, it was not without surprises. Fanshan World's Immortal project made Binghua look at him differently. They actually created a humanoid mobile weapon that could compete with the Purifier sequence mechanical warriors to a certain extent. Although the requirements for drivers and materials are extremely demanding, at least they have achieved it, but like the known universe, they also face the disadvantages of high cost and huge cost. Its degraded version is the latest generation of demigod armor, which is a balance between mass production and cost. The Immortal is to improve performance regardless of cost if it can be realized. At present, the first generation of Immortals can provide drivers with physical strength and short-distance ultra-high-speed movement comparable to those of the third generation of super soldiers, as well as the most important flight capability. However, unfortunately, the cruising speed in the atmosphere is only a few times the speed of sound. It does not have the ability to fight at long distances, because even if it accelerates uninterrupted, the speed of the Immortal in the universe is very limited. Without the protection of a force field, it is easy to have close contact with certain gadgets in the universe. But it was enough. The Battle of El Rals has reached this level, and there have been certain casualties in all worlds, among which Ilal suffered the most heavy casualties. But the results they achieved were equally fruitful. They withstood the purification fleets and mechanical warriors that had been continuously supported by the Eternal Ascended over the past few months. Coupled with the performance of each world this time, Binghua is quite satisfied and her goal has been achieved. Let the world of justice see the difference between them and the eternal sublime ones, let them not be proud, and let them work harder to develop themselves in the future. Ran, Yu, Ming, Ziluo and other angels have begun to attack Destroyer 011. Be sure not to let him leave Ilals. Binghua contacted Ran and gave instructions. In fact, Ran had not done anything during this period. They had been patrolling around the Ilal's planetary system continuously to prevent the Eternal Ascended One from getting a Star Fortress destroyer. Although Binghua wants to test the world of justice, he will never let them die in vain. The war must be controlled to a certain scale. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 715. Ililo was lying in a temporary field hospital built on the body of Destroyer 011. He had gone through several months of bloody battles. He had been surrounded by intelligent machines, massacred by mechanical warriors, and the loss of his companions one after another. His originally bright eyes were now filled with deep exhaustion. He wanted to rest and leave this purgatory because he was tired of fighting all day long. He was not a war madman. But it is a pity that people like him who have experienced purgatory and have rich experience in fighting the eternal ascendants are a very special talent. The Supreme Tactical Planning Department needs talents like him to lead the newly joined Defense Corps in this purgatory. This can greatly avoid unnecessary casualties, even if he has lost 2 legs and an arm. Ililo originally thought that after surviving the catastrophe, he could return to his hometown and retire, becoming a young man who could only live out his old age and retire early. But the doctors at the field hospital fitted him with 2 alloy legs that were much stronger than his previous legs, and an arm equipped with a simple force field shield. Even the uninjured internal organs and other body parts have been enhanced and transformed to adapt to this new body that is several times more powerful. Of course, all of his biological characteristics have been retained. I heard the doctor say that after this war is over, he can be given a layer of bionic skin that looks just like the real thing, which will not hinder his future life. As far as Ililo knows, all soldiers injured on the scene will receive proper treatment, and even if they retire in the future, they can live a normal life. This is written into the laws of a righteous world. If any world violates this law, the people of this world have the right to report it to the Angel of Judgment and let the Angel of Judgment obtain their due rights on their behalf. As for the Angel of Judgment, the sword of Damocles that exists above the heads of all law enforcers in the world of justice, most people are curious about its existence. Because the duty of the Judgment Angel is supervision, it rarely appears in public, but when it does appear it often means that there is a special case there that ordinary law enforcement cannot handle. Therefore, although the existence of the Judgment Angel is not strong, its name is well known to the entire righteous world. Just as Ililo was moving his arms to check if there was any discomfort, a communication message suddenly sounded. The Supreme Tactical Planning Department, which had already learned that he was discharged from the hospital, had given him a new task. Mission: go to the 1-025 landing point and join the newly arrived 46th Group Army 258th Regiment and 6th Regiment of Ilals, and serve as Deputy Commander of Operations. Seeing this, Iliro shook his head slightly, put the 6 identification tags on the bedside table into a drawer, put on his own system, went to the assembly room and put on the guard power armor, and then went through the onboarding process skillfully. Seeing his superior, the operations commander, Ililo greeted each other in a friendly manner, and the other party was also very polite. Ililo didn't ask his name because there was no need, because friends are the most luxurious thing in this battlefield. The other party chose to introduce himself, but Ililo didn't care at all. After checking the equipment and replenishing the supplies needed for the battle, Ililo and his battle group took several large transport vehicles and began to rush to the combat area where they would need to fight bloody battles in the next few days. This process lasted for a day and a half. The reason why faster flying vehicles were not used was because they were easily intercepted by the Purifier Sequence mechanical warriors, and also because there were other carriers in the carrier vehicles heading towards the war zone with them. The combat supplies most needed on the front line. As soon as Ililo and his team arrived at the combat area, they encountered a battle group that had withdrawn for repairs. The originally smooth guard light exoskeleton armor on their bodies was covered with melt marks of varying sizes, which were traces that appeared when the nearby high-temperature energy particles burned when the purification light bomb exploded. Among them was the armor being carried by his companions. It seemed to be damaged and unable to move. Due to the environment, the soldiers inside the armor could not come out. Otherwise, they would have no other choice but to die when exposed to the vacuum of space. After driving forward for some distance, the operation commander signaled the convoy to stop and everyone got off the vehicle. The next distance was too large for the vehicle to reach and they needed to move forward on foot. It is said that we are advancing on foot, but in fact we are using the nozzle of the backpack to accelerate and carry out a rapid march. After arriving at the combat area and replacing the friendly troops who were attacking below the surface, Illyrio offered some suggestions from time to time. At first, the members of the battle group did not take Illyrio's suggestions seriously, but after costing the lives of several team members, both the operation commander and the captains of each team took heed of some of Illyrio's suggestions. Ever since he entered the battle area below the surface, Illyrio has raised his concentration to the extreme, using the valuable experience he gained through the sacrifice of his teammates during this period to avoid some dangerous areas on the road and destroy ambushed intelligence in advance. Mechanical. Just after Illyrio's battle group fought for several hours in the area beneath the surface of the destroyer, which had a complicated structure and extended passages in all directions, a wide area distress message from friendly forces was transmitted into their battle group's communications. The leader of the battle group and the action commander, Illyrio, and several others briefly communicated and began to move towards the position of the friendly forces. However, when a spot appeared on the ground in the passage ahead, it was cut into two pieces by some sharp weapon, and most of the body evaporated inexplicably. After the wounds turned into charred corpses of friendly troops. Illyrio's pupils shrank suddenly and he shouted in the communication channel. "Go back the way you came. Get out of here." But it was already too late. At the end of the passage, a figure about 2 meters tall, with unfolded flying wings on his back and covered in silver metal armor, appeared. Illyrio shouted excitedly to the defense force soldiers on the side who were preparing to fight. "Retreat. We are no match for him." The purifier sequence mechanical warrior at the other end of the channel naturally discovered these enemies. He raised his left arm and fired a beam of light from the front of his gun-shaped left forearm. Illyrio had already laid down the moment the purifier mechanical warrior raised his arm and alerted other people on the team, but it was already too late. A thick blue beam of light passed by, piercing through all the defense soldiers in a straight line on the path. The wounds and armor components were directly evaporated into nothingness by high-temperature energy particles, leaving only the horrific wounds that could not be healed and were fatal. Seeing this, the mechanical warrior of the purifier sequence raised the energy giant sword in his right hand, increased the thrust of the flying wings on his back, and rushed towards the location of Illyrio. But at this moment, blue thunder and lightning spread from the space above Illyrio and the others, like thousands of silver snakes dancing, and hit the mechanical warriors of the purifier sequence at the right time. Then a figure followed closely and passed over the heads of Illyrio and others, landing in front of them. With its white wings, long golden hair, and characteristics that could be exposed to the vacuum of the universe without any protective measures, Illyrio and others present recognized who it was at a glance. Judgment Angel. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 716. I'm sorry I'm late. You should step back first, otherwise the aftermath may hurt you. Rand didn't look back and kept looking at the mechanical warriors at the other end of the passage. There was a hint of apology in his tone, both to Illyrio and the others and to the sacrificed warriors on the ground. During this period of time as a firefighter, Rand also developed admiration for these warriors who were not afraid of life and death. They were not as powerful as himself, and they still did not flinch in the face of enemies that they could not fight. "Thank you for your support, everyone, stay back." Illyrio was the first to react. This was not the first time he had seen the Judgment Angels. He already had a certain resistance to their beautiful images, and was not as surprised as others at the scene. Seeing that the soldiers behind him had begun to retreat, Rand focused his attention on the front again. The lightning on the thunder sword in his hand stirred uneasily, making the surrounding space a little brighter. The mechanical warrior who was previously shot down by a thunderous impact also got up again, but he looked very embarrassed under some melting marks on his body, but this did not affect his actions. He raised the giant sword in his hand and accelerated again. Rush forward. Rand directly put the weapon across his head in front of the giant sword of the charging mechanical warrior. When the two collided, a transparent shock wave spread out, and the alloy ground under Rand's feet was suddenly depressed and slightly deformed. Rand's wrist holding the sword exerted force to swing away the mechanical warrior's weapon, and then he stabbed at a speed that the opponent could not react. The solid alloy armor of the Purifier Sequence mechanical warrior was easily broken through by the sharp sword carrying thunder and lightning, and then penetrated from its back. At the same time, the lightning that spread madly destroyed the internal structure of the mechanical warrior, causing it to lose the ability to move and turn into a harmless metal model. Rand pushed away the mechanical warrior that he had stabbed, raised his sword and stepped over its wreckage to continue moving forward. Seeing this, Ililo behind him motioned for everyone to follow him from a distance. Seeing this, Rand didn't say anything. Her mission was to destroy these mechanical warriors that ordinary soldiers could not deal with, and then randomly break through to open a passage to the interior of the destroyer's body for subsequent warriors to expand their results. Rand's swiftness here does not mean that the Purifier Sequence mechanical warriors in other areas can be easily dealt with in another spacious passage. A metal giant was fighting to the death with a mechanical warrior who was a head shorter than him. The aftermath of frequent weapon collisions made the walls here become pitted. The small immortal is a fully covered exoskeleton-powered armor with a height of nearly 3 meters. The skeleton is cast from the strongest alloy known to the world of justice. It uses a special shock absorption system and nerve connection system internally, and the outer armor cannot be enlarged. Mass-produced synthetic rechargeable armor. The driver inside is extremely safe under such armor protection, and can display all his combat skills. This is the case today. Although the two metal giants, the Immortal and the Purifier, fought fiercely, it can be seen that the Immortal's attack movements are very smooth, and they are not comparable to the slightly dull mechanical warriors. The Purifier mechanical warrior was completely crushed and beaten, and the armor on his body was slightly deformed in many places. However, because the material used in its skeleton was very hard, the Immortals were unable to destroy him immediately. The soldiers behind him watched with great excitement, constantly cheering for their Immortal to kill that bitch of a dead machine. The driver of the Immortal had a serious look on his face, his eyes fixed on the Purifier Sequence mechanical warrior shown on his goggles that had been forced into a corner, and he waved the standard large-scale Fan Shenjian in his hand vigorously. The huge force shook the weapon blocked by the mechanical warrior to the side. The driver of the Immortal couldn't help but let out a roar, and stabbed the Purifier Sequence mechanical warrior's chest on the ground with the Fan Shenjian in cutting mode. The red tip of Fan Shenjian sank into the alloy armor on the Purifier Sequence's chest, but after it sank a certain distance, it became difficult to penetrate again. The driver of the Immortal knew that he must have stabbed the hardest part of the skeleton, and he quickly tilted the sword to the side. Sure enough, the previously sluggish thrust immediately became smoother. Seeing that it was still resisting, the Immortal quickly raised its foot and stepped on its still movable sword-holding arm to prevent a counterattack. Finally, it was not until more than 10 seconds passed that the Purifier mechanical warrior stopped running and the reactor was completely shut down. The Immortal who was pressing on him then stood up, and at the same time pulled out the Fan Shenjian, which had been seriously damaged, and the sword body was deformed due to the continuous output of high-temperature energy. Seeing this, the soldiers of the defense force in the rear cheered in the communication channel. This was a victory for their mortals. Even though it was the Immortal who defeated the mechanical warrior, his driver was still a mortal who had been transformed to resist stress. Compared with these two battlefields, the combat style of the Elite Legion and the Demigod Legion was obviously much more formal, and their tall bodies did not appear bulky at all when moving. The Type 5 blaster in hand has undergone 5 improvements and upgrades before being installed in the latest model. It is equipped with armor-piercing ion bullets and is extremely lethal. The Demigod Legions were covering each other through a passage. Suddenly, a slight sound of mechanical transmission was captured by the armored detector, and the Demigod warriors who were marching in an orderly manner suddenly stopped. The next moment, the smooth alloy wall beside a Demigod warrior suddenly rose upwards, and the folded intelligent machine suddenly ejected from it. Its mechanical forelegs spread out in mid-air and enveloped the Demigod warrior. If no accident occurs, what happens next is obvious. With the tens of tons of pressure generated by the mechanical four-legged closure, ordinary metal will be easily squeezed and deformed, let alone flesh and blood. But the reason why demigod warriors are called demigods is precisely because they have exceeded the limits of mortals and have reached the realm of gods to a certain extent. The demigod warrior, covered by the shadow of the intelligent machine, turned around and turned his gun at a speed that exceeded the limit of human reaction, aiming at the core position behind the armor at the bottom of the intelligent machine. Immediately, armor-piercing ion bullets shot out from the muzzle of the blaster gun in the demigod warrior's hand, hitting the armor at the bottom of the intelligent machine. The first high-energy ion bullet penetrated the armor, and the second largest bullet passed through. The hole made by the first bullet hit the tail of the first round. The huge kinetic energy caused the intelligent machine to volley and press against the body of the demigod warrior for a pause. This pause of less than 1 second was enough. The high-energy ion bullets fired into the smart machine from the bottom armor have exploded, and the ion jets that are enough to burn metal have burned thousands of holes inside it. After the demigod warrior finished all this, he stretched out his thick armor-covered arm and pushed aside the dozens of tons of intelligent machinery that was about to weigh on him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 717. However, there was more than one intelligent machine hidden in the opened alloy wall. After the first one was solved by the nearest demigod warrior, other intelligent machines inside rushed out. However, an incoming barrage smashed the other intelligent machines that had not rushed out into pieces. The other two demigod warriors closest to them had already reacted and instinctively formed an alternating fire network to block the alloy wall without communicating. Sudden gaps. In addition, there was a dense sound of intelligent machinery moving in front of the passage. The demigod warriors in front of the team immediately knelt on the ground, and one of them raised his gun and shot. The other demigod warrior opened fire about 2 seconds after his companion opened fire, and dense bullets sprayed out. As soon as the intelligent machine appeared from the end of the passage, it was hit by armor-piercing ion bullets. Unlike ordinary Defense Force soldiers who need to focus fire to deal with intelligent machines, the weapons equipped by demigod warriors are enough to easily penetrate the armor of intelligent machines, and the ion current after the bullet explodes can easily melt gold and break iron. Therefore, intelligent machines that can cause great trouble to ordinary Defense Force soldiers are like lambs waiting to be slaughtered in front of demigod warriors and are easily defeated. Of course, the purification light bombs launched by intelligent machines can also cause some trouble to demigod warriors, but as long as they are not focused on fire, the demigod armor is quite resistant. After all, it uses simple rechargeable armor on the outside. Although the resistance to kinetic energy strikes is not as good as some solid alloys, its excellent resistance to energy strikes after the energy supply is turned on is the reason why the Justice World uses it as the outer armor of the demigod armor. One of the two demigod warriors who was blocking the passage ahead fired a magazine with a capacity of 100 rounds. After it was empty, It immediately flew out automatically. The next second, a new magazine was installed. In less than 2 seconds, the ammunition has been reloaded and normal shooting resumed. At this time, the magazine of another demigod warrior was also empty. He replaced the magazine as quickly as possible and continued to fire to suppress the intelligent machine rushing ahead. From time to time, purifying light bombs would attack. The demigod warriors who could dodge would move out of the way, while those who couldn't would just resist. After the explosion, the purifying light bombs would leave an unnatural mark on their armor caused by the high heat. Apart from the melt marks, there is no other construction technique. Suddenly, a blue beam of light lit up from the end of the passage, penetrated the intelligent machinery blocking it, and headed towards the demigod warriors at the other end of the passage. Boom! After a violent explosion, a hot cavity with a diameter of more than 1 meter appeared on the alloy floor, exposing the semi-melted mechanical structure inside. Only then did the demigod warriors present realize that behind several intelligent machines stood a purifier mechanical warrior with silver-gray outer armor, a V-shaped facial information collector, and a back with wings spread out. Discover special individuals, attack formation. The demigod warriors who were originally moving very quietly seemed to suddenly become manic. They no longer acted cautiously and became full of power. A demigod warrior at the front of the team pulled out the standard Fan Shenjian that was ejected from his backpack, and rushed out like a storm, accompanied by bullets that kept passing by to protect him. The intelligent machines blocking the front of the demigod warrior were quickly destroyed one by one, exposing the mechanical warriors behind. The charging demigod warrior did not forget to raise the blaster in his left hand and pull the trigger forward. Facing the hail of bullets, the purifier mechanical warrior raised the giant sword with the energy blade in his hand to act as a shield in front of the V-shaped information collector on his fragile face. At the same time, the nozzle at the end of the flying wing on his back suddenly a brilliant blue flame bloomed, pushing its body forward like a cannonball. But the armor-piercing ion bullets fired by the demigod warriors cannot be simply blocked. The ion jets after the explosion caused a lot of trouble to the mechanical warriors. It is not a destroyer sequence mechanical warrior with a purifying energy field. Facing this kind of ion jet with a temperature that can reach hundreds of thousands of degrees in an instant, it can only resist with armor. When the mechanical warrior avoided the sputtering ion jet, the charging demigod warrior decisively threw away the blaster in his left hand and leaned slightly to the ground. The Fan Shen sword clenched in his right hand suddenly lit up with a red light. An accelerated demigod warrior passed by the mechanical warrior, taking with him one of the two flying wings on the mechanical warrior's back. The mechanical warrior's flight movement suddenly deformed, changing from flying to walking. After landing on the ground, he turned around and rushed out in a few steps. He raised the big sword in his hand and slashed, without caring about the bullets coming from behind. He rolled to avoid the big sword that struck his head, but then the demigod warrior was knocked away by the sweeping giant sword and hit the alloy wall. At this moment, the other 4 demigod warriors took advantage of the mechanical warrior to attack their teammates and quickly moved up. The 2 continued to fire and suppress, restricting the mechanical warrior's movements. The remaining 2 demigod warriors, like their previous teammates, rushed out like a storm with the Fan Shen sword in hand, turned on the cutting mode, and passed the mechanical warrior one left and one right. In an instant, one of the mechanical warrior's legs and his left arm with long-range attack capabilities were greatly damaged. Although they were not severed, the skeleton at the joints was damaged and the mobility was greatly reduced. However, the red light on the Fan Shen sword in the hand of the demigod warrior also disappeared quickly, and it entered the charging and cooling stage. He picked up the blaster hanging on one side of the backpack again, and fired with the 2 teammates on the other side. The purifier mechanical warrior lost all its advantages after losing its most powerful mobility and long-range firepower. Even thick armor will be penetrated. Now it is like a tiger that has lost its claws. It has no power to resist and is defeated by this weapon. The squad of demigod warriors concentrated their fire and fired into a pile of rags. Relying on such tactics, the world of justice is advancing step by step towards the core of Destroyer 011, for which Destroyer 011 has no solution. He was unable to produce destroyer sequence mechanical warriors because of insufficient materials and authority. Purifier mechanical warriors could be produced, but after all, they were not cabbage and the quantity was limited. In front of the nearly 100 million attacking troops in the justice world, it is a drop in the bucket. Although it can cause a lot of casualties to those fragile Kamigawa creatures, the opponent can always replenish it quickly. In addition, there were Angel King level beings invading and constantly destroying his production area. Therefore, Destroyer 011 calculated that it was only a matter of time before his defeat. The same result also appeared in Binghua. She used the Gate of Time and Space and the Heavenly Sword to monitor the star field around the Alal's planetary system. Whenever the Eternal Ascended One wanted to establish a space jump point, they would use the Gate of Time and Space to build it at the same time. Her Stellar Energy Collection Transmitter for targeted bombing. The ultra-long-range strike weapon Herpolias, which once shined in the Angel Civil War, shines again in this place far away from the Angel Nebula. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 718. The residents of the God's throne world were all talking about the occasional light and dark changes in the stars above their heads, but their doubts were dispelled after the official Ministry of Internal Affairs issued an explanation. They are extremely proud of the Herpolias stellar energy transmitter, because it is an armed force belonging to the God's throne world, and they are the residents of the God's throne world. Although it does not make them think that they are superior to other worlds, they can't help but feel a bit of pride when introducing their world to other worlds. For this, the rest of the world can only look at it with envy. As for jealousy, there is no such thing, because anyone in the world of justice who has received a certain amount of education knows that the creator of the world of justice, the supreme goddess, lives in the world of gods, and use her vast wisdom and godlike power to lead and protect all the people of the righteous world. As time goes by, the offensive situation of the justice world against Destroyer 011 has also stabilized, and good progress has been made every day. It is only a matter of time before it is captured. Binghua also gradually focused his attention on his own research. In addition to routine microstar drive technology, new divine bodies, and reincarnation technology. Even though it was easy for Binghua to reincarnate Qi in the past, that was because she was the one doing it herself. It would take some time to apply this technology in batches. After all, the body data of each angel is different. If these angel warriors are reincarnated in standard bodies, it will be an insult to their achievements. Binghua is not lazy enough to skip these processes. In addition, the demigod warriors who died in the Battle of Alals, some elite legion members, and those who have undergone data soul transformation surgery will be reborn in the world of the God's throne. Whether they continue to dedicate their second life to the just world, or spend the rest of their lives as ordinary residents of the just world, is entirely up to them. This law is not written on the surface, including the fact that data soul transformation is also top secret in the military, and Binghua is not prepared to use this technology for civilian use. If a civilization or race eliminates death, the biggest threat that forces life to evolve and advance, then this civilization or race will also lose its greatest motivation to move forward. Binghua once had a deep understanding of this in the Merlot Heavenly Court. The period of male-female angel war and physical war was the period when angel technology progressed most rapidly. Later, the establishment of diplomatic relations with the Super Seminary allowed Angel to obtain a large amount of advanced knowledge and theories, and pass the most difficult and long period of theoretical exploration. Only then did the second generation, the third generation divine body, and a series of other powerful cutting-edge technologies come into being. However, after the angels and the Super Seminary parted ways, including Binghua, Hexi, Kesha, and the Angel Scientific Research Department, New technologies are rarely born. Most of them are old projects that are constantly being optimized and developed, and the research angels have little motivation to explore new things. The reason for this is that on the one hand, the angel civilization has solved the two most basic problems of survival and death that trouble living things. Coupled with such powerful power, there is no civilization in the universe that can threaten angels. However, recently the devil seems to have created a sense of urgency for the angel civilization. After all, the death of a holy left-winger is not a trivial matter. He is the most cutting-edge technology master of the angel civilization. Binghua didn't believe that demons could shake the foundation of Merlot heaven, but it was still possible to cause some trouble. This was why she learned from Kesha that Morgana was still alive, and she didn't have much emotional fluctuations. In Binghua's eyes, Morgana is not scary and can be easily destroyed. She has this confidence. But the devil will not completely perish because of Morgana's death. In fact, the devil gene Binghua has also been studied. Its technical content is not high, but its unique side effects will make most civilizations reject it. The first is that creatures that have been genetically modified by demons will become abnormally ferocious and terrifying to normal people. Scarlet eyes, pitch black curved horns, black-purple skin, and those ominous fleshy wings. This is a physical distortion. Of course, the magnitude of the change is not exactly the same. This is a change that most civilizations that value order cannot tolerate. The second point is the amplification of the desire for destruction. Demonic genes will make the bearer irritable and murderous. Of course, this is not absolute, but most demons will have these bad habits. But these shortcomings are actually advantages for chaotic and disordered civilizations, space wanderers, and space bandits. Even angels cannot count the number of uncivilized wanderers in the known universe. The size of the angels has always been a big problem. In addition, the justice order venue is too large, and the angels simply don't have enough manpower. They can only passively wait for the demons to grow in size before destroying them. If the devil appears in the world of justice, Binghua shakes his head slightly when he thinks of this. This cannot happen. Just like a demonic invasion, the elite legions stationed in various worlds in the world of justice are not just decorations. Ordinary demons cannot make trouble at all. Elite demons, forming an organized demigod army, will let them see what group warfare is. Even if you are a generation of gods, if you do not retreat strategically, you will fall into the siege of the demigod army. Of course, this requires the support of the heavenly sword computing cloud in the divine throne world to suppress the large-scale energy attack algorithms used by the opponent and the deployment of god-killing weapons. Otherwise, the demigod army lacks the means to effectively attack the divine body. Of course, this does not mean that the strength of the justice world is comparable to that of the Merlot heavenly court. Binghua had mentally simulated the odds of winning between the justice world and the Merlot heavenly court if they faced each other. The result was that the justice world was completely defeated, but the Merlot heavenly court would not be too uncomfortable. It can't be called a complete crushing. The elite legion and demigod legion that the world of justice has been building will bite off a piece of flesh from the angel before they are destroyed. This is the final result after leaving aside time and accidents. No one can be sure of the reality. Moreover, Justice World is now like a teenager, growing rapidly. No one knows how far he can grow in the future. The passage of time will not stop due to anyone's wishes. The righteous world's battle against Destroyer 011 has finally come to an end after 10 years of bloody battles. As the components in the core area of Destroyer 011 were destroyed, the Purification Energy Reactor Group stopped operating, and his huge planet-like body finally came to a standstill. The Eternal Ascended One no longer sends mechanical warriors to purify the fleet and the Destroyer sequence, and seems to have given up on Destroyer 011. But in various star fields unknown to the righteous world, the Destroyers, who were originally the transfer stations for purifying the Chaos virus, began to take action one after another and left the orbit that they had been running for tens of millions of years.